Welcome everybody tuning in. Hope you're having a great day. I just wanted to jump on here and kind of do an impromptu thing and see if I could answer some questions for you guys, because we have a lot of questions about the Ghost Box. We have a lot of questions about how it all came to be, how it works, the history, all those different types of things. So I figured jump in here and try to get you guys some information and hopefully clear up some of the misconceptions about the Ghost Box, where it's come from, all that kind of fun stuff. So hey Jade, good to see you. Just gonna wait till a few more people come popping in here. This again is just kind of a impromptu thing, didn't really plan anything. I just wanted to hop on and say hi. See Michelle in there. Hey Anthony. Hey Angelina. Hope you're feeling better. Chris Cumming, good to see you. Hi. Let's see if we can get a few more people in here before we get started and get rolling here. Going out to a few different platforms, going out to Magic Moon Spirit Jewelry on Facebook. We're going out to Box Talk with Moon D on Facebook, Ghost Box Chronicles on Facebook, a bunch of different places. And then we have our YouTube channel and our Twitch and all sorts of different places. Hey Keena, good to see you. Hi. Awesome, numbers jumping up a little bit right now. Hi Kelly. I wanted to kind of make this an open forum because honestly I got a little bothered. I was reading some articles that just came out recently from some Ghost Box researchers, and a lot of people who are talking right now are really getting the facts wrong about how everything started and how it all began, what originally things were used for, so on and so forth. So I really want to, hey baby, I wanted to jump in here and kind of touch base on some of those things and explain a few different things. I don't want to get into names, and I don't want to get start in trouble with anybody or anything like that. But to go back in the history of the Ghost Box a little bit, I did write a book about it with my mom. It's Ghost Box. If anybody's interested in grabbing that, we do have some autographed copies. Just let me know. DM me on that. Frank Sumption, the creator of the Ghost Box, Thomas Edison's Telephone to the Dead, the completed version, he contacted me back in the early 2000s and told me he had this device. And most of you have heard the story a million times, but when I first heard that he had this, I thought he was absolutely crazy. I didn't think there was anything to it. So when I actually went to his house and he gave me one of these devices to go test out in the field, I spent an entire year thinking that this was a broken radio. And this was the first device that he had ever created. He handed to me to go take out into the field. And when I eventually did take it out into the field, I took it to the Sally house and again, not really knowing if it worked or how to use it per se. But one of the first things that happened was when I was out there and I was just kind of channeling as a medium. And some of the words that came through for me were technician's assist. And I didn't know what it meant at that time. I had no idea what that was about. Of course, come to find out later on that the technicians, or the spirit technicians on the other side, they're the ones who work with us in helping communication take place. I have my team, and I've worked with my team since that day, way back when in the early 2000s, back at the Sally house, and it's never stopped from that point. Of course, realize that this is a psychic medium's tool. Paranormal investigators, I'm sure, can use the device and other knockoff devices that are like it. That's fine. But it really is a psychic medium's tool. And that being said, you really do have to have a connection with the other side to have that back and forth conversation. If you've seen how the device has been used on TV shows and things along those lines to this very day, it's a very straightforward, I'm looking for a word here, or maybe two words put together there. And the way that I use the device, of course, is true spirit communication. I'm pounding the device. I'm receiving messages back through the device. And that's all led through by my spirit technicians. They're not only providing me the connection to the other side, but they're providing me with pictures, they're providing me with emotions, they're providing me with all these different things. So it's really important to understand the technician aspect of all this. And when we go into that, it's been a long journey in building that relationship with the other side and really understanding what that all meant. And when I said technicians assist way back when, which by the way, Dee wants to make a documentary about me and call it technician assist, but it's kind of become my famous line. But reaching out to them, I didn't know who they were, I didn't know what this connection was going to be, and I didn't know how it was going to happen. So it was a learning curve for me and an experience all the way along those lines. And I've connected with several different technicians through the years, and I can go down a long list of who they are. But I thought I was crazy when this first happened. I thought, who are these technicians? Is this just something that I'm hearing? Is it just something that I'm experiencing? Maybe it's just a creation of mine. But I found out later there was a really interesting article that was written in the 1980s that I was made aware of many years later. And there were some people who were doing experiments with radios, just radio tuning. And when they made a really good connection at one point, and I'm paraphrasing here, essentially the being that came through, the spirit that came through at that point, said, I'm the one who leads you from one side to the other safely. You can call me technician. So I realized at that point it wasn't even my term. They literally were putting it into my head. They kind of giving me the download of technicians assist. Technicians, that's who we are. We're beings on the other side who help connect back and forth. So just to make things clear and just to let everybody understand, that was, as far as I know, using the ghost box, that was the first time that technicians were ever brought into the use of the ghost box. And it's not that I brought it in, it's just that they made themselves well known at that point. So a lot of people have the misconception, because we do use the ghost box, and of course you see all the TV shows and investigative teams that are out there with these devices now. We do use it for paranormal investigations, and it's a great tool on these paranormal investigations, and I'm really blessed to use it that way. But the most important thing that I think that comes out of this whole situation is that being a psychic medium's tool, it really does help us connect with spirit on the other side, not just a general idea or some loose interpretation. We can literally tap into that individual's energy on the other side, bring through their personality, bring through their voice, and help them get messages back and forth to whoever might need that message on this side. Or if we need to help them and help them cross to the next plane, we can do that as well. And it's really an incredible thing. And I really do encourage everybody to go back, and there's a lot of recordings that are out there, there's a lot of video that's out there of use of the device, that I've used for so many years. And a lot of the best footage, I mean, some of the produced stuff is great, don't get me wrong, like Ghostbox Chronicles, love it. And some of the TV shows I've been on and things along the radio programs and so on and so forth. But I think some of the best footage that I have seen is when you just have, maybe a student at a college who's going along with this and just kind of filming on their phone, and they get that amazing response where they hear their grandmother's voice come through, or their uncle, or somebody who's on the other side and wants to come through and communicate with them, because that's the most emotional thing that happens with all this. So as cool as it is to be able to go out and communicate with spirit, and a lot of people like to get spooked by it and have fun with it, and that's fine. But I think sometimes it needs to be said that the ghost box, in my opinion, Frank's box, the telephone to the dead, is mainly to be used for true spirit communication. Interesting story, and I'm just going to get into this really quickly, and I know I'm just kind of rambling around and having fun here, guys. But many years ago, James Randi, and I don't know if you guys remember James Randi, but he had put the challenge out for individuals to come forward, and he had $1 million prize that he would give to anybody who could prove that there was true spirit communication on the other side. And I remember initially, long before the ghost box, we had started to do a certain type of EVP work, electronic voice phenomenal work, where we would go into locations and we would interview spirits. We'd have that standard communication that would go forth. And of course, you get the standard Class A EVPs, which were awesome, and all those types of things that would happen. A word here and a word there, maybe a sentence if you got lucky. But the one thing that we had come through was something that we call direct electronic response, DER. And what it would be is you'd ask a question, for instance, what is your name? And over that communication that you would have, all of a sudden you would hear all these static pops and cracks and screeches that would come back on through playback. And at first when we got these responses, we thought, oh, there's something wrong with the recorder. Obviously this is some kind of natural thing that's happening. But over time we realized that these sounds would only come through in response to questions that we would ask, direct questions. So long story short, we had to get sound editing software, and what we did is we would take one little sound, like a little scratch that would come through, and we would stretch that sound out through sound editing software over and over and over again. And we would find that within that little sound, there was a full paragraph of human speech, which sounds absolutely crazy. But what we realized over time is that spirit was able to communicate easier that way because they were able to basically imprint their voices very, very quickly using this method. And then later on, through my research and through events that I was doing, I actually found out that this was a method that spies used to use. What they would do is they would take a long message and they would actually condense it down into these little blips that would come through. And then people on the other side would actually have the ability to decode it and pull these messages apart. Shortwave radio bursts is what they called it. And basically that's how spies would pass messages back and forth to one another, and realized that spirit was able to do this and probably was the one who created this to begin with. But it was just very interesting. So long story to get back to my point. I actually presented this evidence to the Randy Foundation. And most of the time that they would get an inquiry that they thought they could get rid of and make you look like a fool, they would respond very, very quickly. And I didn't get response. So I finally contacted them again by email. I said, I have this and I'm willing to do it anywhere you need me to. It doesn't have to be in any specific environment. You can actually hear these spirits come through at any time. And they declined to have me come in for that. So I thought that was interesting. And then much later, when I guess I became known for working with Frank in the box and things like that, they contacted me and they wanted me to come in. But with that being said, it had to be their experts, it had to be their people, it had to be under their conditions, it was all these different things. So I, of course, declined it until they could come up with a fair test. But it absolutely drove him nuts that he just could not, find a way to debunk me and all these things. And the reason that he couldn't debunk me is because it's legitimate, true spirit communication. And if you get how important that is, a lot of things that we go through in paranormal research and just spirit communication in general can be debunked. It can be debated. There's a lot of things that come through. But when you go in and you can literally record a session and have someone's relative who's passed away or friend who's passed away come through in their own voice and relay messages that only they would know in a two-way conversation, it's impossible. It's impossible. So sometimes I think that the severity, the impact, whatever you want to call it, really gets forgotten sometimes. I think it really does. And one thing that I've always had in the past, I went through the trials and tribulations where I was a lunatic and an idiot and a scam artist and all sorts of different things, where everybody had every name in the book for me, which was fine. Frank and I went through a lot. We put up a lot of stones and things, and we'd laugh about it a lot. And the two of us would argue, but we always got along in the end. So I think it's really important to go back and realize it's not an individual. It's not Chris Moon. It's not, this other researcher or box builder or whatever the case might be. You have to realize that the credit should go directly to the technicians. This should go through to spirit. This should go through to angels. We should be celebrating the fact that they've given us these great tools and these great gifts to do this. And the only thing that I ask in this, because I really, it doesn't matter, whatever device you think is best or whatever, researcher or box builder, it's totally fine. It's a wide open world, and I'm good with that. We lost Frank a long time ago. So we have to continue on. We have to continue and keep going through this. So, but I want the history of how this all came to be documented, just like anything else. Any type of research, any type of revelation needs to be written, and it needs to be accurately told. And my concern in this is that I'm seeing a lot of things out there that have big holes, big gaps, missing facts, and basically people just doing favoritism in their writings, and basically writing a lot of us out of the history of the ghost box and all that. And that, you know, again, that's your choice, but I would like to see an archive built where there's a legitimate, you know, history told of how this all went. Because you think about the very beginning, there was Frank Sumption. It all begins, he's the top of the list. And, you know, you can go higher than that and say there was Thomas Edison, because Thomas Edison was the one who started this project, right? And was only able to complete it through Frank's work. So there's this chain, and it goes all the way down. And I think there's people out there who are doing some outstanding work. I think that they're really trying hard, and I think they're really contributing to what's going on out there. But like I said, I'd like to see an accurate representation of the history of how this all came to be. And you know, there's people that I care for and don't care for, but I'll always give them credit. And you know, the situation with the technicians, you know, and the device and Edison, and it needs to be brought to light. It needs to be told. The truth needs to be told. And again, one of the main reasons that I wrote this book, which was it was wonderful, but it was painstaking, is because I wanted to get the word out there about how this all started, how it grew, how it blossomed into what you see today. And it's interesting because one of the last conversations I had with Frank, sitting in his kitchen having coffee, and we were talking about all this. And I tell the story every once in a while, but you know, Frank was always kind of this interesting guy, and you know, he said, I really think there is something to this mediumship thing, you know, and we started having a conversation about it. One of the more open conversations we've had in a long time. And you know, we looked at each other, and I turned and said, you know, we opened Pandora's box, ghost box, right? And we truly have, because you know, you look at what's out there in the world now, you look at all these devices that are out there, it all started with Frank. It all started there. It all started with me taking that thing out there and using it at the Sally House. So good or bad, it's out there. I would just, like I said, I'd really like to see people get back to it and really see what the history is and learn about it, especially young investigators. You know, I'd love to see young investigators and psychics go in and really make an effort to learn about, you know, what we've gone through and how far we've come, and you know, ways to improve on what we did, you know, ways to make it better. And I'd also like to see, thank you so much for the compliments, I'd also like to see less competition in this field. I'd like to really see people try to come together, you know, get over their differences, and just acknowledge each other for what you're doing, you know, acknowledge the work that you're doing. And instead of trying to build a better mousetrap, you know, work with other people in an attempt to have more pure spirit communication, help more spirits, help more people. Because that's really what this is all about when it comes down to it. Whether it's through an investigation and helping people figure out what's happening inside their location, or trying to connect somebody with a loved one through a reading, it's all the same thing. It's all the same thing as healing. We're trying to heal both sides. So I'm not trying to jump on the soapbox today, but I just wanted to get out there and kind of give you guys a little piece of my mind and what I've been thinking about. And I just really like to see things come together. So I want to give everybody a chance. I haven't had a chance to look at all the comments. If you have a comment for me, let me know. I'm happy to take any questions you guys might have. And here's Steve. Steve is a researcher. I've worked with Steve and known Steve for many, many, many years. He kind of came in towards the beginning with everything. He and his wife built a lot of ghost boxes, and I have one here that we've tested, and I think he's planning on sending more, but I've known Steve for a long time. Steve also worked with Frank for quite a while, so yeah, it's awesome to talk to people like Steve about it. Antoine says, hey, yeah, the ghost experience is awesome. The technicians assist, help the communication clear. Love it. Thank you so much. I'm just going to run through if you guys have any comments. And Keena says it's fascinating how the box works. Totally agree. My buddy Carl Jones, we had an interesting experience in Springfield, right? Yep. He was there when we actually talked to Abraham Lincoln through the Ghost Box. It was absolutely incredible. You know, having a press conference with a deceased president is a pretty cool thing in front of a large group of people. RBL saying that a documentary would be cool. I think so. And Dee absolutely insists that we got to get that thing done. So I'm hoping that we can and maybe get some more information out there for everybody. Roz says, with the Ghost Box, you let me hear my dad one more time after he passed. Made me very happy. That Roz, that's it. That's exactly what this is all about. That's all that matters. You got to hear his voice again. You got to hear his personality again. You got that closure. You healed, he healed, and this is really what it's come down to. That's what it's all about. Let's see here. Grab a couple more. Nicole says it's very inspiring in changing thinking. Yes, definitely. I have a Facebook user. I'm sorry I don't see your name. If you're over on the Chris Moon site, how long after someone passes should I wait to try to hear them on the Ghost Box? Okay, that's a great question. It really comes down to a belief system, right? Time doesn't exist on their side. Time doesn't really exist in general, right? But over there is no time. So when somebody crosses, you could literally have a communication with them almost immediately. But when that happens, you know, it's not, for the people who are left here, it's harder, right? So I always encourage people to take a little bit of time, to take a step back, you know, let that mourning process start. I've done readings as soon as a few days after, with people's insistence on doing it, but I like to wait at least a couple of weeks, if not a little bit longer, for people to kind of go through the process so that the energies can connect the right way. Let's see here, I get cut off here, but I'm going to put this down. Jerry Artist says, those of us in the field already know what is real in the spirit realm. Randy's challenge was so open-ended and carefully designed so it could never be given out. Basically, he is laughing in the face of all believers and witnesses and empaths by issuing his monetary reward. That's how I see it. I don't take Randy seriously because I know what I've seen, heard, and photographed. Spirits don't perform on command, and it's not a circus act like Zach. Wish Cameron could, yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. I totally agree with you, Jerry. They really don't, and we're so blessed, you know, with the Ghost Box to be able to literally turn this thing on and have a team that works to go out and bring through spirit, whether it's a spirit that's just reaching out for help around us right now or going and gathering a specific spirit energy to try to bring it through so that we can help. Let's see here. Kristen Holmes says that just gave me chills when people connect with love with it. Always. And Roz follow-up says, thank you. I thank you so much for what, it still gives me tears. I thank you for that. Absolutely, I'm just so glad to be here. Oh, and Lisa says, I pledge to support the documentary. It would be a lot of fun. It would be a lot of fun. Here's Wayne. He says, our first time, my wife was a skeptic, but when the box said, hey girl, the way her sister would say it, her mind was blown. We still talk about how amazing that experience was. Yeah, and that's exactly, thank you Wayne for your comment. That's exactly what it is those people having not imagined or hoped for or possible. We're not talking about that, guys. We're not talking about that. We're talking about legitimate, recorded communication. Recorded, guys. This isn't some kind of, you know, dog and pony show. This is real. We're not guessing. You know your loved one's voices. You know the things they say to you. You know the way they say those things to you. There's no way possible that those things could come through a machine or through me or whatever the case might be without true spirit communication. And I just think it's an amazing thing. I thank the universe for the gift every single day, because there's not a time that I turn this device on where I'm bored or think, oh, again. I'm always fascinated every single time that it happens. Every single time. There is not a moment that I'm bored with it or take it for granted. Let's see here. Andrew says, do you plan to do Ghost Box at the Mason House in Iowa? You know, it's interesting with the Mason House. I've done that event for so many years, and then we had COVID come, and then I kind of lost touch with Joy and Chuck. I'm not sure what their status is right now. Of course, we'd always love to go back to the Mason House. It's an event we've done since 2005, and it's been amazing. We've learned so much. That's been our you know, paranormal Disneyland, the school for us out there. love those guys, love their family to us. I'm not sure what's going to happen, and I really pray that we get back out there at least one more time to come back out and speak to all those energies that we've met through the years, all those amazing residents inside that location that have passed away. It's just, I can't imagine not doing it. Colette, I can see your comment. Facebook user, I don't know who you are, but it says, I was a skeptic until my brother's voice came across at the Lumber Baron Inn. Yeah, guys, and that's not an uncommon story. Not uncommon at all. Here's Katie Holte. She is a Ghostbox researcher. I mentioned her before, Steve Holte's wife. Says, hi Chris, I think I will have to watch the replay as I just tuned in. Thanks for helping my hubby get into the ghost boxes way back in the day with your lectures. Of course, Katie, yeah. And that's been the other beautiful thing about this. I had Haunted Times magazine back in the day and all that, which produced Ghosts on the University, but the ghost box, guys, the ghost box, Frank's box, connected me with so many amazing individuals, so many amazing people. I met Steve at the Garibaldi Meucci Museum in Staten Island, New York. I was doing an event there where he brought him and his family and came there, and he had no idea about the device, I don't think. And once we started using it, he just became fascinated with it. And once he became fascinated with it, he started researching it and started talking to Frank, and the rest is history because he's built a lot of different devices through the years and has his own amazing history with the Ghost Box. And he's been with me several times. We had 2 events at the Garibaldi Meucci, which were incredible, where I actually had a spirit take control of my computer at one time and literally didn't want us to start the presentation. So on screen, you could see on the display on the PowerPoint, you watched, nobody was in front of the computer, but you watched as somebody clicked on the volume, turned it all the way down, and then actually clicked out of the PowerPoint presentation and shut it down. We actually lost some people that day and said, yep, that's enough for me, I'm out. And then that same night, we had a woman, there was nobody upstairs, put it that way, and we were downstairs talking, and all of a sudden from upstairs, there was a woman who started screaming at us in French. And, basically it was Mooney leading the group of people upstairs to make sure that there was nobody up there, and we found, of course, there wasn't. But we've had so many amazing experiences through the years, with the Ghost Box. I'll never forget. I tell the story sometimes back in 2007, Savannah, Georgia. Where I was invited by Chip Coffey and Patty Starr to their convention, and ended up doing ghost box readings for every single person at the convention when it was there, and literally had people crying, sobbing, laughing. It was amazing. It was an incredible experience, and that's one of the first public displays that I did as a psychic medium, not as an investigator, and that the rest is history with all that. And see, Steve says, first time with the box was with you, May of 2007, Eastern State. Was it, you were with me at Eastern? I thought we were at Garibaldi Meucci, Steve. I could have sworn. I knew you were there with me, but maybe it could have been Eastern State. But you might be right about that. And then Kayla here would love to connect, please. I'm not really doing any readings right now, but we're just talking. We're talking about the Ghost Box and everything that's done through the years and all that kind of stuff. Ed Cox says, hey Chris, remembered when you helped me with the statement I made, I wish I wasn't alone, when you were at my house many, many years ago. My dad had passed when I was 18. My dad's response, laughing, and he said, you've never been alone, I've been with you. I absolutely remember that. I absolutely remember that. That's right, Ed. I do remember that. That was great. Okay, and Steve does back it up. I also went to Garibaldi after that. Okay, good deal. Yeah, Eastern State was great. Garibaldi was great. Absolutely had fun. Wayne says, what are your thoughts on the method Adam and Amy use on kindred spirits? One asking questions and the other is blindfolded and listening with headphones that they can hear the questions. I actually have seen that. I've seen it a few times. It was a method that they were actually trying out. I was part of an experiment, and it was in Canada back in, I'd say 2009, right around then. I think it's a really good idea. I mean, of course, one thing that I would say is spiritual protection is huge. You have to make sure that you're absolutely grounded and protected, because I think sometimes when you cut off other senses, whether it's sight, sight or sound, whatever the case might be, you can really open yourself up to some negativity that's out there. So I tell everybody, make sure that you're absolutely grounded before you go into something like that. But I do find it really fascinating, and I think if it's done legitimately and done correctly, I think as far as an experiment goes, you really can't debate it. If you're getting direct answers to questions right then and there, not just random, but specific, I think it's a great method, and I think that we should continue to use that to further the research. Absolutely. And Colette says that they use that method on their investigations. That's very cool. I've never done it myself, but I'd like to try it once and see, exactly what happens. That'd be pretty cool with the ghost box, and having somebody ask questions where I can't hear would be really interesting how that would happen. So anyways, guys, like I said, it was just impromptu. I just wanted to jump on here and kind of give my 2 cents. I want to make sure that we keep the history of what's happened with the ghost box as accurate as we possibly can. Sometimes it's like a game of telephone and things change over the years and all that kind of stuff, but I'd really just like to see everybody who's made major contributions, and there's a lot of people, just kind of get their fair credit in the whole thing, because people have really dedicated their lives to this, and I would love to I'd love to see everybody be acknowledged for that. Let's see, really quickly, I've got Michelle says the ghost box is amazing. You had some great sessions. Yes, you have, man. You've had some wonderful sessions, and I made some of the best friends in the world doing this. It's been absolutely incredible. So I want to thank each and every one of you who's been with me on the journey. Whether we're still on it together or it might be from the past, whatever the case might be. Just want to let everybody know really quickly, just advertising. I do have several copies of the ghost box. You can still get this online. Amazon, all the different places that are out there. But I actually have some signed copies between me and my mom, and we're doing, we can do personalized autographs on these. So get in contact with me, just send me a direct message if you're interested in grabbing one of these. We've, a bunch of people have already grabbed this one. Happy to do that for you. Dee and I are, I needed to get the advertising in at the end. We are doing reading specials right now. If you guys are interested in connecting with loved ones, either through the ghost box or tarot cards, I'm offering an additional 10 minutes for free in the readings right now. So if you guys want to connect with loved ones on the other side or friends on the other side, and you want a one-on-one sit down where you can record, get in touch with me, send me a direct message on any of these pages, and I'd be happy to jump in and be happy to do a reading for you. And so with Dee, she's also offering, with the Oracle card, she's also offering a numerology reading along with it, which is a $75 value too. So anyways, that is what's happening on this side, guys. I just wanted to jump on real quick and do this. I appreciate y'all hanging out with me. I know, it's kind of controversial and all that kind of stuff, and I just want you guys to know that I respect everybody out there. It's just that I felt like these words kind of needed to be said and kind of give you guys a little bit of a history lesson. And always feel free to reach out to me if I can't answer a question for you about it. I'll always go back and turn you over to the right people who can. So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you all very, very soon. Bye, guys.